Bethesda didn't invent bad monetization. It broke the bargain. Bethesda's monetization controversies are not about players refusing to pay for content. Every other year, Skyrim comes out as a special edition, anniversary edition, Skyrim on the Switch, Skyrim on your smart fridge, Skyrim on your phone, Skyrim on a pregnancy test. Point being, players pay for it almost every time. Why? It feels insane for players to be complaining about microtransactions when Bethesda pulls crap like this constantly. But here's the thing, it's not insane. It's not insane because of the audience contract. In short, players will pay for what they expect. For decades, Bethesda has conditioned their audience to expect a very specific unspoken contract. Release full game, sell full expansion slash DLC, offering new items, quests, NPCs, and world areas, then pad the time until the next release with mods. That is, until April 2006, with the release of Oblivion's Horse Armor pack. Now, I know this topic has been done to death, however, it's for a good reason. It was one of the most educational moments in gaming for both players and companies. The Horse Armor pack is funny now because of just how small the scope is, being sold alongside the Shivering Isles as if putting cosmetic armor on a horse was the height of gaming. The problem arose because of that fact. People were outraged that Bethesda would try and sell something so small and dumb. Players weren't stupid, they could smell the bullshit wafting in all the way from Rockville, Maryland. The biggest question here again, why were people so upset? It's not like Habbo Hotel and Second Life weren't already selling mass quantities of their own horse armor. The reason is simple. People were outraged because it broke the audience contract. Players expected DLC and got spit in the face because Bethesda wanted some pocket change. For Bethesda, the solution was pretty obvious. Stop spitting at people. More accurately, go back to their old business model that worked for Morrowind. They made a mistake, but it wasn't unforgivable. They returned to their classic large expansion model to almost no objection. They learned their lesson, they released Fallout 3, and they made smaller but still substantial gameplay altering DLC for it. Then they made Skyrim and its suite of expansions and DLC. They even borrowed from Oblivion's added house DLC with Hearthfire. Then they made Fallout 4. Bethesda was winning, and so were the fans. The people got what they wanted. The audience contract was upheld. The story goes that Todd Howard awoke one night in a sweat with dollar signs in his eyes. He rushed to his office and wrote on a piece of scrap paper, "Monetize the mods. It just works." Obviously, this isn't how it happened. The point is that Bethesda looked at one part of their ecosystem that players treated as communal and tried to turn it into a storefront. In 2015, Valve and Bethesda tried to add paid mods to Skyrim's Steam Workshop. 4 days later, the backlash was so bad that Valve killed the feature, refunded everyone, and basically admitted that they had picked one of the worst possible places to test the idea. Valve had built an entire marketplace function for the Steam Workshop, and the response was so immediate that they tore it back out in less than a week. The whole debacle could be a separate video, but the reason for the backlash fits perfectly here. Horse Armor broke the DLC bargain, paid mods broke the modding bargain. Mods were off limits, but Bethesda charged in anyway. In 2017, Bethesda was back to take another swing at the paid mods angle. This time, they knew they would be more careful with optics. They knew the market existed, they knew it was untapped, they knew their games were sitting at the center of one of the largest modding cultures in gaming. This is when the Creation Club launched, to again, massive backlash. This was a system where Bethesda would hire modders to create small content packs for the game. This sounds great on paper, but in practice it was paid mods all over again. It especially wasn't helped by Bethesda's payment system. The Creation Club content was priced in credits, which would be bought at inconvenient bundle sizes and obfuscated the value of the content. Another criticism was that the content itself wasn't very good. A fetch quest for a unique item that you paid $5 for isn't exactly groundbreaking. As if rubbing salt in the wound, Bethesda released Power Horse Armor as one of the first 12 Fallout 4 creations. The problem for Bethesda was that their games had already trained their audience to think about content in two broad categories: official paid content as expansions and games, alongside mods. The Creation Club was an attempt to rewrite the audience contract. Funnily enough, Bethesda would later prove that exact point themselves with the Anniversary Edition of Skyrim. Players were far more likely to buy all of the Creation Club content bundled together as an expansion pack rather than piecemeal. Same content, different audience contract. But Bethesda was not done finding new ways to step on the same rake. Because of Creation Club blurred the line between paid mods and DLC, Fallout 76 blurred another line entirely, the line between cosmetic monetization and paid convenience. Fallout 76's Atom Shop was framed before launch as the safe version of live service monetization. Atoms could be bought or earned, the shop would only sell cosmetic items, and post-launch DLC would be free. Pete Hines explicitly stated that Bethesda wanted to stay on, quote, the right side of the line. They knew what the consequences would be. They knew what the audience contract demanded. Apart from the disastrous launch, Bethesda would choke on their own words. In April 2019, released repair kits into the Atom Shop. Repair kits were not cosmetic. Repair kits had a gameplay function. The backlash was immediate. Many players felt betrayed, especially after the insane number of bugs in the awful launch of the game. Then, in October of the same year, Fallout 1 was announced. This was a host of quality of life improvements paywalled behind a subscription service that could go as high as $100 a year. The biggest controversy revolved around a Scrapbox that the subscription included. The Scrapbox was unlimited storage for crafting materials in a game where storage limits were one of the biggest constraints. Bethesda had found a way to sell relief from its own design. Horse Armor was too small to feel like a proper DLC. Paid mods stepped into a space players treated as theirs. Creation Club tried again to turn that space into an official storefront. Fallout 76 moved the Atom Shop from cosmetics into convenience. This is why Bethesda's monetization controversies are not really about players refusing to pay. Bethesda players pay all the time. They buy expansions, DLC, re-releases, special editions, anniversary editions, and sometimes the same game on 3 different platforms. The problem arises when Bethesda tries to change that deal, that bargain, the audience contract. Bethesda didn't invent bad monetization. They just kept finding new ways to break the audience contract.